All right, welcome back to Afternoon Drive here on Joppa Radio. My name is Drew Moholland. I am joined by John Finbury, straight back from the Grammys. How are you? You literally flew in last night. This is very sweet of you to come on the show. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So what's the, you got to tell me, what was it like being on the West Coast, taking in that show?
Oh, it was unbelievable. You know, you have to say right off the, at the threshold that it was all tempered by the Kobe Bryant disaster, which was right there at the Staples Center.
Right.
So we all, as we arrived, everyone's all dressed in their gowns and tuxedos, and we got the news.
It was literally
the
as
tragedy,
you were showing up?
Right.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Yeah, that was brutal. Obviously, that was the news that took over the country and the show, really.
It really did, and it was even physically right there. It was the plaza outside of the Staples Center was 100,000 people and helicopters overhead, and everyone wearing his jersey and people crying, and so, it was complex for that reason because all different emotions were going on.
I bet, yeah. You could really feel it on the red carpet all the way through? You could feel that?
Absolutely. Everyone was really touched and shocked and upset.
Yeah. And that was how I think, probably stealing Alicia Keys' line, I think it was, right at the beginning of the show where she said, "We are in the house that Kobe built," or something along those lines.
Right, and then they had his, both of his jerseys up in the rafters, and so it was for Kobe.
It was. Well, certainly it's been a sad week for that, but I mean, the show did go on, the performances did go on, and for you, what a great honor to be nominated for this. Actually, let's show the album here too. Sorte, as you helped me with the pronouncer here.
Sorte, yes.
Sorte, yes. Still a little bit off. Portuguese,
Brazilian Portuguese.
I should know that. I lived in Hudson, which is a very big Portuguese community for many years. I loved the food there. They had a little Portuguese restaurant that's fantastic, and but that's besides the point. But this, I mean, obviously a great album, and how nice is it to be get that respect from your peers? That it must be incredible.
It's amazing, and I was in a category. So it was we were nominated for Best Latin Jazz Album, and we were literally among the gods. I mean, Chick Corea, who of course won.
Yeah. What's that? Did you expect that?
Yes.
Or you did?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
the favorite, if you will.
Well, this was his 23rd Grammy and 45th or 50th nomination, and then Wynton Marsalis and Ruben Blades and David Sanchez and another album for a wonderful Puerto Rican sax player. So it was, I think I had counted up, there were 118 lifetime nominations in the category. So I've had one before.
Yeah, what year was that? That was
2016.
2016. So that's a couple recently here. That must be a nice little run every couple of years.
We're in a good spot.
Excellent. What was the? I want the whole process. So how do you actually first learn that you're nominated? Is it a phone call? Is it a fancy letter? Does somebody knock at the door? How does that work?
Well, I'm a Recording Academy member, actually a dual member of the Latin Academy, and so I knew that the album had been submitted in the category, and then you learn that whether you make the top 5, the final cut, I think it was November 21st, and it was just it's posted online. So of course I was looking because I knew that was the date.
When do you know? I mean, you've released a lot of albums. I think I saw. Do you have 2 coming out this year?
I do.
That's a lot.
I'm constantly writing and composing and working. I have a producer, Emilio Miller, who is down in Buenos Aires. Okay. And so we have a new Latin jazz album coming out with, it's not going to be Brazilian this time, Spanish. With a wonderful singer named Margos Herrera from Mexico City, now Brooklyn, of course. And it'll be with John Patitucci, Antonio Sanchez, and Chano Dominguez will be the power trio behind her.
Wow. Well, that's loaded. How do you know when you have one of these albums? How do you know that this, or when do you know that this is a winner? This is a good one. Does it hit you right away, or do you start needing the feedback, or what?
Well, to be honest, my wife, Patty Braden, tells me if I'm on the right track.
Is that right? They're smart, the wives, aren't they?
Right. We've been married a long time, and I've been composing a long time. So she if the song has what she calls pay dirt, which is a song that moves you emotionally and has good mood, then we know we're on the right track. And then when we put the team together, the musicians together to record, you you know from the recording session whether you know what's coming out and whether it's going to be good.
Gotcha. All right. So you get this thing. This thing gets put up for the Grammy. There's Tyler. How are you, bud? Tyler Neufeld, by the way, Lily Doucette producing today on the radio and TV side. Thank you, guys. So this thing gets nominated. You're in the audience. Is that kind of is it a fun show? Are you nervous with the what's the deal? I mean, you get all these probably legends around you, right? A bunch of icons that maybe you looked up to, or
absolutely.
I'm sure some that look up to you too. But I mean, it's
well,
quite an audience.
No,
right?
I'm emerging from obscurity. Let's be honest. But although my name's getting a little bit better known since this is the second, but. Yeah. With the Grammys, actually, the Grammys that you see on TV, they only give out 9 awards. Right. Mostly they're the pop and rap awards.
Yep.
So all of the jazz, folk, Americana, bluegrass, classical, comedy, packaging, video are all given out in what they call the premiere ceremony, right. Which is in the afternoon. They give out, I think, close to 70 awards very, very quickly. Yep. But in the same formal way, they just, with maybe there are 4 performances. So Chick performed at that ceremony, his winning album. And Yola performed, who was up for Artist of the Year, and she was amazing. And there's classical performance and one other. So and you have a program, so you know when your category is approaching.
Gotcha.
And so even though it was very predictable and for Chick to win the award when it came time, your heartbeat still goes up.
I bet it does. So that's leading up to that. Is it one big? It seemed like you guys. I know you were traveling with E.J. Ouellette, who's a good friend of the show here. Was it like a weekend of like parties and meet and greets, or is it?
Well, they have a lot of people. The Grammy people put you up at. They want you all to stay at the Biltmore.
Yeah. Who are the Grammy people? I need to know more about them.
The Grammy people? Well, the Recording Academy.
You can tell me, but you'd have to kill me, right?
Well, the Recording Academy makes the arrangements and provides the tickets and limo service, and so a lot of people were staying at the Biltmore, and they give you a good deal.
I'm sure you've earned it.
And it's right in the center of old Los Angeles, which I had never been in that part of L.A. before. It's a beautiful part of L.A.
Yeah.
Even it's the part where you see where all the skyscrapers are, but it's also the old part of L.A. where there's, for example, right near the corner was the Bradbury Building, which is where they shot Blade Runner.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So all of the interior shots, my wife, we went right over there to see that.
A lot of just taking in the scenery.
And I was there I have friends in LA, so I got to see old friends and socialize with them, and then you meet a lot of new people that you may know from Facebook groups or from emails and things, but you had never actually met them before, so there was good to make new friends.
Gotcha. You must love answering the question when, what are you doing here? What brings you to town?
Well, I'm a Merrimack Valley boy.
That's right. Well, I mean, in L.A., though, I mean, I get a Grammy nominee, so that's what brings me to town here.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that's right.
That must be a fun one. All right, I think we got this. Tyler, we got this set up here. Can we give this a roll? Let's listen to some of the music here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. You want to start, what do you think? Start with the title track here, John?
Yeah, Sorte, number 1.
Right off the bat here. So this is the album. Is it the first one? Yep, first one. Track 1, yep. There you go. Bring this baby up. We'll play it, and we can talk over a little bit, John, as we go.
That's the phone.
Oh, sorry, bud. There we go. Hey. Yep. There we go. Tyler helping us out today. Thank you, sir.
Quando a serendipidade abençoa o buscador num golpe de sorte redentor, revelando a providência em todo esplendor. São milagres da ciência desafiando a razão, santa distração e universos paralelos revelar-se-ão. Nossa trajetória pode ser sorte.
Written this year, John?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay.
Takes a while from inception to production and recording to today.
Understood.
distração.
Title track, where does it come from?
Sorte means luck or serendipity. The lyrics are all written by Thelma de Freitas, who's the singer,
Yep.
and the lyricist on all of the songs. They're all hers.
How many instruments?
So there is piano, piano, acoustic guitar, bass, drums, percussion. And actually, the legendary Ierto Moreira is on this track.
Okay. It's the thought process. I'm putting this together. You got 6 tracks here. The order, is that messing with you for a while, or does it come naturally?
I mean, when we finally decide the order of the tracks, it comes. We have to think about it, but my producer and I agreed very quickly on what should be the first song and what should be the last song, and then it's pacing.
Fill the middle, pacing.
Desafiando a razão, Santa Comunhão e universos paralelos sintonizarão. Nossa trajetória só
Beautiful
pode
voice.
ser
She does.
sorte. Muito prazer te conhecer. Sorte, erros excelentes também são. Sorte. Sorte.
Well, that's very great. It's funny. It's you listen to that, and is that how you know right off the bat? Is that the very first song you wrote for this album?
Yes.
That's the very first one.
Yes,
And that's kind of spills over from there.
and that's the song we used to entice Thelma to collaborate and work on the album.
Oh, that was the pitch. Very nice.
Meu Deus, que bom foi te encontrar. Oh sorte, oh sorte, oh sorte.
All right, very nice.
Thank you.
Very good. She says the Sochi so much nicer than I do.
The language really sings.
It really does. What are the roots a little bit? How did you end up in doing this? Being in that direction, writing this kind of music, putting this kind of stuff together?
So I've now had to. Of course, that's the natural question. What is someone from Haverhill, Massachusetts doing? So the short answer is this: that I've been listening to Brazilian music since my parents brought Brazil 65 and since the Brazilian bossa nova wave hit America in 1963, 64, 65.
Oh, okay.
And my father brought those records into the home, and it got into my ear.
Wow. So it's the
And,
parents, they were the roots.
Parents are my roots. My father's a musician.
Yep.
And then when I was in college, I saw the movie Black Orpheus, Camus movie about Carnival, and that also had Jobim and Louis Bonfa, beautiful music in it. And so the music has been in my ear a long time. I glibly, but I think I mean it when I say I didn't choose this music. The music chose me.
I bet.
Yeah.
You hear that quite a bit. Do you have? I know you said you're going to do a little bit of Spanish next. Is that? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of similarities and a lot of crossover, but maybe not.
Well, lyrics will be in Spanish.
Yeah. Yes.
Different lyricists, different singer, but it'll be jazz. I mean, it'll be song form with improvisation.
Okay. Do you like the improv?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
fun,
have
isn't
that in almost all of my music.
Almost all of them?
Has.
This one too?
Yep. There's mostly, and in this album you'll hear, because we have one of the great they're all great musicians, but one of the great bass players of all time is John Patitucci. And so when he agreed to do the project, I said, well, we want him to solo as much as possible.
I want people to hear as much as possible, so I'm going to dip back into this one here. The second track is, I'll let you say it first. I don't want to mess these titles up.
So the second track is Figlia, which means daughter, and it's a track that is about a parent singing to their daughter.
Thalma again. Thalma. Actual feedback from like the Portuguese communities on these. Like I know I was just thinking, I was I told you off the air, I was living in Hudson for many years. My first house was in Hudson, and the Portuguese community was a very proud community, and I remember they loved the soccer and everything, and but very proud. Do you really try to make sure you get it right? Do you know when you've gotten it right from the community itself?
So yes, well, I would say at least my direct experience with we wanted to have as many Brazilian musicians on this album as we could, which is why we went to New York to do it.
Yep.
And so I knew from talking with them and the way they interacted and felt during the session that they enjoyed it and that they thought we were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And they, of course, speak fluent Portuguese and really dug the lyrics.
Yeah.
These are not Moon and June lyrics. These are deeply personal for her. They're spiritual.
Yep.
And they thought that the lyrics were really good. And then I get feedback. When you go and look on Spotify and you see who's listening, where are they?
Yes.
Spotify really breaks it down by city. And lots of people in Brazil and Portugal are listening.
Nice. That must be a great feeling.
Yeah.
Thalma all in as soon as this thing started going? Could you tell that she was just all enjoying it?
Yes, and she really, relished. She's a poet and relished the opportunity to set her poetry to music. The way, and I've always worked, and I mean, a common question is which comes first, the lyrics or the music?
Yes.
And for me, it's always the music.
Always, yeah.
I write the song and then I give it to her.
Yep.
Or whoever I'm collaborating with, and they set it to. They put their lyrics to it.
Are you one of those perfectionists in the studio? You know what? Great take, not quite there. Let's do it again. Or
we usually, yeah. Well, with jazz, you never know, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be great. There's going to be greatness in most of the takes, but we generally do 3 or 4 takes of every song, and then move on, and then you do your deep listening afterwards.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it works. If it's taken too long, if you're on take 5 and 6 and you're not quite there yet, put it on the shelf for a while and come back to it?
Yeah, luckily, with this level of musicianship,
right.
that doesn't happen.
Understood.
Yeah. Here's John.
How do you think these things end up? I mean, obviously you've been a Grammy nominee before. I'm sure that does it help once you have one? Do you feel like you're kind of in the conversation a little bit more? How do you first get on that pedestal of being a Grammy nominee? Because let's face it, there's all sorts of great musicians all across the country and all across the world, but there's only so few nominations that go around.
I know. The first one really introduced me to a lot of people that I wouldn't probably otherwise have met, including my producer, Emilio. So it's hard to really, I don't other than the merit of the song, I don't really understand how the first one, Ashama Veggie, was from my album Imaginario got. Except, so we were in the studio recording that song, and I was working with a Boston percussionist, Ricardo Monzon. Plays with the Boston Pops, and he's on a lot of different things. And he came up to me after the session, and he said, you should really join the recording, become a member of the Recording Academy. You should submit this song. It's really good. It's, Grammy worthy. And I said, just, yeah, right. And I, thought he was joking. And he came up, he's short and stout and strong. And he came up to me and he grabbed me by the lapels and he pulled me close and said, no, I'm serious. You should do this.
Really?
Yeah. And I said, okay, I'll do it.
So he knew.
Yeah. So I did, and it was nominated for Song of the Year, of all things.
Wow.
In Latin Grammy in 2016. And it had 149 YouTube views at the time, which is really obscure.
Yeah.
And Shakira and Carlos Vivos' song, La Bicyclette had 1.5 billion.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And of course she won.
Yeah.
She should have. But so I'm not sure how it made it. There's voting, and then there's a committee that helps, I think, decide.
Yep.
But they liked it, and it made the cut. And then as a result of that, Emilio Miller, who is my producer now, contacted me, and people in the industry contacted me and wanted to, encourage me.
Yeah.
And to keep it going, and that they thought I was doing something that was good.
Obviously they were right. Big week for Shakira coming up.
Oh, what's she doing?
She's doing the halftime show of the Super Bowl.
Oh, that's right, at the Super Bowl. I saw her on 60 Minutes.
That's right. I actually missed that. Was that an interesting 60 Minutes?
She's an interesting
I might watch that tonight. I like I hate missing my 60 Minutes. It's my end of the week routine. But yes, so let's let's do this. This is track. Let's go to track 4 here. We'll play that from the beginning. I don't want to give it a short length.
This is Mayo, or May. One of the fun facts is that Thelma and I found out we were both born on May 14th.
Is that right?
We share a birthday.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That came up during recording?
Before, when we were
so it was for
getting to
writing
know
it,
each
okay,
other.
yeah.
Right.
Já não tem substância que se preze pra ser satisfeito a valer. Mês de maio comemora-se mais ano.
When you do these albums, is it usually one voice you're looking for the whole album?
Usually, right. One singer.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like Pitanga, which is my second album, it was with Marcela Camargo, and so sometimes she would overdub and do her own harmonies.
Oh, really? Yeah.
But otherwise, it's one singer. Yeah.
Aprendi a confiar no poder da prática, boa fé no que me.
When you get this is obviously very in-depth music, and you're working with the best musicians out there. Is it literally, this is what I'm thinking, go home, do your homework, and come back into the studio, and just maybe a group getting together and saying, all right, I did my homework, let's put it all together?
Well, my goal is to try to write one, what I call a keeper, one good song that I think should stay and be recorded a month.
Oh, okay.
And that's to try to hold to that.
Yeah. Is that, these are long songs, too. These aren't your quick little
These aren't
2-minute pop songs.
No. And then when you're doing a jazz and you're allowing for soloists to play chorus and do their thing, they run 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah. And there's an art to that, too, right? Giving them the space to
exactly.
do that.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you can explain to me in this short time frame right now. I'm just kidding, of course. again here. We're joined by John Finbury, coming back from right back from the West Coast off his Grammy nomination for this album here, Sorte. Give me a thumbs up, Stephen. It's a tough word to say. There it is too. What's the best way for people to get this, by the way, if they're listening right now and
If they wanted the physical album, CD Baby,
yeah,
and Amazon.
they still do sell the CDs, right?
They do, although it's really an old format now. And then you can all the digital platforms you can have it.
Okay.
There's a Spotify station, there's a Pandora station,
Excellent. You even brought in some vinyl today.
and we did a vinyl of Sorte and Orsa on the side.
Yeah.
It's more of a promotional because very few people play it, but it's
You know, I hear a lot of the record stores, and I'm sure it's good for business to say that, but they say the vinyl's actually coming back, whether it's people playing them or just to, have around. I don't know. People like vinyl.
they do it. They collect it. They collect
Yeah.
it,
Well, it's great. You get the art too, which
right. I mean, who can read the liner notes on a CD?
right.
Não quero crer, meu desejo nunca tem.
Now, you've probably listened back to this a million times in your head. Do you still enjoy it when you
I do.
hear it?
Que se preze pra ser satisfeito. A valer.
Very beautiful. Again, John Finbury in the house. Very nice of him to come on after his flight from the You came back last night. What time did you get in?
9:30 Boston time, so 6:30 LA time.
So
So,
good man for doing this. I'm sure you said you got energy, but I'm sure it's gonna hit you at some point, right?
probably.
What was the? I mentioned this a little bit briefly earlier, but what's it like? Did you see some people that you really respected, either growing up or people that you really draw off?
Well, the most exciting for us, and for me and my wife Patty, was seeing and meeting Keb Mo.
Oh yes, yeah.
Right. So he was staying at the Biltmore. We rode the elevator twice with him, so he was captive, and I got to say we were a fan and shake his hand. And he ended up winning in his category. He won for best folk album.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So 2 elevator rides with him.
Yeah.
What's the red carpet like? I know that you see it on television, and it kind of looks a little chaotic to me. It's a million cameras and
There's hundreds of media on the right side, and then sort of the stage photo background on the left. And a brilliant red carpet, and it runs about 75 yards.
Wow.
And but it makes you smile. It's a grin, and you're looking all around. And we saw David Crosby.
Oh yeah.
And Jacob Collier, who is the new phenomenal jazz and music talent from England, who won 2 Grammys.
Yeah.
And then, I was there. Thelma had come up from Brazil for this, so she was there, and my producer was there. Rogério Boccato is one of the percussionists, came from New York.
Okay.
And John Patitucci couldn't come, but his wife and 2 daughters wanted to be there, and they came as part of our group. So we had a good posse.
Oh, nice. That's great.
Yeah.
The show. It's a long day because you get there earlier and all the awards. Do you stay throughout the whole show? Or
Yeah, it's
not good for
both
you?
shows. The premiere show, so you get there at noon.
Yeah.
And then we stumbled out of the after party at midnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody you may be familiar with. It just hit me a few years ago. I interviewed Terry Lynn Carrington.
Oh,
You know that name?
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Great drummer.
Yes, and I know it's a director at Berkeley, I think. She
Right.
got that job a year or 2 ago. But I remember she was up for a nominee, and the story always stuck with me that she said, I'm there earlier, and I got to be honest with you, Drew. I mean, the show seemed great and everything on TV because I had to leave. I was wearing my heels, and I was exhausted, and it had been a long 2 days, and I just said to myself, I just can't do it anymore. I got to get back to the hotel, and I watched it from the hotel. So that story, I said, you didn't go to the televised show, huh?
You see what high heels will do to you?
That's right. Well said, well said. But long day. So everybody was doing good though, and they stuck through the whole deal. What did you think of I mean, what do you have? Aerosmith was got the music cares.
Walk This Way.
Yeah, there was no shortage of Twitter opinions on their performance. It seemed to be a lot of mostly positive, but they said Steven Tyler, there's no Kramer up there, which a lot of people didn't realize that story was going on.
Right.
And then they said Run DMC, they actually are coming out. Okay, interesting. This is it's like going back a couple decades here.
Right. It was it was Devo. They and it was really loud. That was generally, even for a stadium, the main criticism in stadium rock is that it's too loud and you really can't hear. But they did an amazing job of making things sound good.
Did they? Good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm sure they have the best people on there for that particular night. And you had the what was the highlight for you? Did you like the Prince tribute? With
the Prince tribute was my favorite part.
Was it? Yeah.
And I thought Usher did it. That's not easy. And
it's not. I kept saying that. I like to go through my Twitter when I'm watching these things, because everybody has an opinion on the show, and it's just kind of interesting commentary as you're going. And I was looking at a lot of he's no Prince, and I said, well, no kidding. I think he's doing a pretty good job up there for trying to pay tribute. And I don't think they would have let him do it if he wasn't going to do it.
No, he pulled it off, and and then they have just the talent around him. The dancing was incredible. The people and the spectacle. I mean, the Little Nas spectacle was incredible. Where they had the carousel of the rooms, and he's walking through, and it looked incredible live.
It must have been fun. So the sound was great. The crowd was into it mostly. Is it probably not like a rock show, right? It's like it's kind of an in-between of like you get up for the performances, but they do, and it's it's television, so it's staged. So there's someone there telling you, all right, everyone take their seats, all right, and then there's a countdown from every commercial, and then they tell you to start applauding around 5 seconds before they go live. Gotcha. All right, so
I'm giving away secrets, but it's television.
There is an element of that. Okay, the show business. There it is. Let's bring this album home here too, and the last one on the track.
So the last track would be Surrealismo, Tropical.
Yes, indeed. Let's pull that up. So you said you knew this was the ender right away.
Right.
All right. By the way, when you get a Grammy nominee, does it immediately, are you framing this thing? Is it all over your house? I think I would have, like, on every floor of my house, I think I would have some sort of thing showing off my Grammy nomination.
I have a poster, and they give you a little medal.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Cool. You mentioned pacing earlier. That stuck with me. And for somebody who has never constructed an album like this, is it important to end upbeat? Is that not always the case? Is it just every album's different? Or?
Every album's different, but this one, if you played it to the end, you would see why.
Yeah.
But we thought we'd end. This was a perfect one to end with, and it's very different than the others. I mean, you can tell it's a funk. It's a funk beat.
How's the recording process of these things? Is it always fun?
It's intensely. This album was recorded at the Power Station in New York City. Power Station, a legendary old recording studio. So you walk in and it was Bruce Springsteen and Paul McCartney and Paul Simon, Blondie and great jazzers, and a couple of years ago became part of Berkeley. It's called the Power Station at Berkeley now. It's currently closed because they're doing a multi-million-dollar rehab, but it's a fantastic place, and you walk in and you have the spirit of all of these great records that you know around you, and it affects you. And even these musicians who have recorded there before know where they are. They're kind of like in a cathedral of recording, and so that's where this album was done, in 2 sessions, 2 different sessions, so 2 different days.
What about the? I don't know exactly. Maybe you probably don't do it for all the albums with everything that you're releasing, but oops.
When you think it's over, it's not over. That's why it's the last
Oh, that's why you said that?
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Nice. Do you guys ever get out and play for audiences here with this? Is that tougher to do with?
In São Paulo, she's performing in São Paulo, and hopefully we'll do more. Getting these guys together to do it, I think they want to, but they're all in different bands and they're all playing with all over the world, so it's tough.
Is there a part of I know we just talked about some of the televised performers that played at the Grammys. Is there a part of you, and I feel like I remember Terry Lynn answering this question, and she took a very diplomatic answer at it too, but it would be great to see like some of this stuff get more. I mean, I know they stream it and everything, but they should really 9 awards. That's not many for all the awards the Grammys gives out. I know you only have so much time, and it's a show and it's entertainment, but I wonder if there's anything. Is there ever a call? Can you feel it there sometimes? Let's move it along and get some more people on stage, that sort of thing.
Well, they do live stream the premiere ceremony,
which is good. Everybody's got their phone now, and
right. So their friends and family can watch. But you'd like to see other music represented. I mean, so for the classical, they bring Joshua Bell out to play on Fame, and that's. But I think they know that their viewership really wants to hear the popular music.
Yeah, well, some more than others, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. They were all fine. All right, so let's do the. So this was the Imaginario, was the one that you said this got you the.
So the first track on that is a Chama Veggie, which means the green flash.
Okay.
And that was the first. That was the sort of the lightning strike song.
The lightning strike song, you said.
Well.
What year was this?
2016.
Sim, vai brilhar. Sim, vai brilhar. Isso é a promessa. É a chama verde.
When you think in the most general terms, what's the big difference between Imaginario and Sorte?
So I would say this particular song is more of a classic bossa nova, and but they're in the same palette. They're in the same world.
Mas vai durar. Mas vai durar. Durar em nossa memória.
Are you always writing?
Always.
Is that the when it comes down to it? Is that what you love more than even the recording? Like, what's the main passion in order? If you had to rank them, is it writing, recording,
the writing, the creating?
Yeah. This is
once
probably
you're in the
payoff.
recording studio, you're trusting your artists and handing it over.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you get the payoff of hearing the finished product too. That's probably another sort of chapter there. Our friend EJ has checked in, enjoying the interview. Hello, EJ Ouellette.
Hello, EJ.
Não vai brilhar, não vai brilhar a chama que não existe, não se vê, não se vê. Sim, vai brilhar, sim, vai brilhar. Isso é a promessa. É a chama verde. Somos juntos em nosso amor. Quando termina o dia, quando o sol vai caindo, vai caindo. Depois
John, I'm going to pull Lily in here. I'm going to have her videotape this because I've been trying to do the Instagram here a little bit and putting some stuff out on there. Again, we're listening to some John Finbury here. This is from the 2016 album Imaginario. He is nominated again this year for a Grammy. Just back from the West Coast for Sorte, which was this one here. You heard almost all of that. I think we got to most of that, or at least a little bit of each track there beforehand. So you've got to hear a good snippet of that today. John, a little bit about the person here. What? Let's see. Where'd you grow up? Where were you born? Get a little background here as we go.
So born in Haverhill, Massachusetts.
Born right in Haverhill.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm a Haverhill boy. I still work in Haverhill, and I live in Andover now.
Okay.
I went to school in Haverhill, and then off to college. A number of different colleges. Went to Middlebury College, and then ended up at Langy School of Music in Cambridge, and then got my degree at BU in music.
What's the one thing that people do not realize about the Grammys that they should know once you've experienced it?
Well, we've covered the main thing, which is that most of the awards are not given.
Yes, okay. Besides that one.
The one thing that they don't know, well, I would say that while it appears on television like it's a competition,
Yep.
it's not. At least that's not the spirit when you go there.
Really?
It's
Okay.
it's a community, and I mean, I think, and this certainly got lip service at the Grammy, which is that we're all aiming for the same thing, which is to create and to try to make the world a more beautiful and better place.
That's interesting to hear you say that, because it is. I do think people think that sometimes they'll see, another artist thrilled for the other artist when they must be upset. She or he was favored to win that. But that's not really the case. You're happy for that was some other great work that was up there, and you're happy for that other artist.
I think that's right, and you're in a community of everyone that's striving to do the same thing, which is to create and make good music.
Yeah, so it's kind of just a fun atmosphere all around then.
Yeah, very supportive.
Do you ever lay your head on the pillow at night here since 2016? Is it ever a little bit of a shock to you that wow, I'm a Grammy nominee?
It feels pretty I keep saying this is it's 15 minutes of fame.
Well, clearly not here. That was a few years ago, and now here's another one. But this is it really is. It's such a unique thing that such few people get to experience. It's a great thing. And it's such a great way of doing it too, being recognized by your peers, and it's not you've earned it when you get up there. Well,
I will say, Drew, let me say this, that it's not just me though, because I think part of the wisdom of what I've done is that I've collaborated with really great artists.
Yeah.
and thought we found Thalma, and then we were able to put this amazing band together. I mean, one of the things that Chick and I have in common is that we have the same bass player. So John Patitucci got 2 Grammys playing with Chick.
Wow.
So I certainly recognize that a major reason of why these albums sound as good as they do is because of the musicians that play on them.
Well, there you go. Again, John Finbury here joining us. A few more minutes. Let's pull. Do you have I know you got a bunch of songs on here. Is there one in particular you'd like us to go to? You want to?
Imaginario?
Again, John Finbury, Grammy nominated this year for Sorte, just back from the West Coast after attending the Grammys.
Do you want a ballad or an upbeat song?
Oh, I don't know.
I
feel wrong telling you what to play.
I like track 7.
Like track 7. Yeah. Good enough for me.
Yeah.
All right. And a little background on this guy. Let's see.
So Sementia Agora. So this is on this album I collaborated with my old friend Ned Claflin. Ned is a great lyricist, and he's worked with Madonna and with a number of other artists. And he wrote the lyrics on this song.
Nem mais uma hora, temos somente agora. Não importa brigar, não importa chorar, temos somente agora. Adeus, adeus, a tudo adeus. Os cumprimentos são meus. Antes de cairmos nos braços da morte, nós temos a sorte de ter somente agora.
It's funny. Do you almost have to? So this was probably your life for, you said 2016, so probably good. 2016, 2017. This is all your life. You get nominated. When do you kind of turn the page and say, "Let's do another one"? And then
I'm constantly
Constantly,
working on it. So I've got 20 songs ready to record.
Really?
So I've got some recording plotted out for the next couple of years.
that is I don't care who you are. I think that's you, but that is a lot for anyone, even the workhorses in the business. 2 albums already ready to go. That's a little bit unusual right after a Grammy nomination, right?
I guess I'm in a particularly fertile period, but
Yeah.
I like making records, and I want to be doing it. I try to be doing it all the time.
I like that line.
Não temos mais uma tarde, nem mais uma hora, temos somente agora. Não importa brigar, não importa chorar, temos somente agora.
Are there certain things in this neck of the woods, living here, growing up here, that are inspiring to you?
Oh, the people.
The people,
Yeah, I like the people. I've got a lot of friends here, and
Yeah.
and the first 2 albums were made with lots of great musicians who work at Berkeley and are masters. Most of the musicians on those first 2 albums are from Berkeley.
What kind of do you ever need like the release from this genre and try to do you explore into I know you said you like the Usher performance the other day.
Right.
It got me thinking, do you ever go, what direction do you go when you want to listen to other stuff? Is it funk? Is it rap? Is it
What did I listen to?
Yeah.
Oh, I have. I'm all over the place.
Really?
Yeah. So I would say generally my listening is directed by the. There's so much music out in the world by the musicians that I'm working with. So I'm currently working with Antonio Sanchez and John and Chano Domingos, who's a new artist that I didn't know about 2 years ago. So, and they have all of this, all of this music that they've done in their lives. And so I'm generally listening to the work of the musicians that who are working on my project.
I meant to stop you mid earlier too. Did you mention David Sanchez was in that?
Antonio Sanchez.
Antonio Sanchez. Okay.
So he's a drummer. He's a drummer for Pat Metheny. He did the soundtrack for Birdman. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah. I actually loved that movie. I thought it was great.
Right, and the soundtrack's all drums, right? It's all percussion.
Yeah.
That's him.
Okay, and that was a big part of that movie because that was the one where they did the one camera technique.
That's right. That's right.
The whole So that was and then the drums throughout that. That's a big part of that movie. That's
right. He did the soundtrack for the series Get Shorty now too. Same thing, all drums.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that one yet.
Really interesting.
Really, yeah, that's great. One other thing I wanted to hit on here. I know we've gone in a million different directions here, which I like doing sometimes. But you mentioned that your wife is the one who kind of tells you when you're going in the right direction. Should she know it right away on Sorte?
She says so.
She says so.
Yeah.
Do you know when she knows that? Can you tell? Is there a cue, or does she just tell you straightforward? Keep going with this.
I ask her. I always ask her.
Really?
And she'll come in and she'll be brief, but she'll say she'll tell me.
How'd you guys meet?
Oh, we met at through a friend at the Casablanca bar in 1978.
Okay. Same music interest?
Oh, yeah. I've always been her piano player. She's a singer.
Yeah.
And originally a folkie.
Yeah.
And we've been in bands together, country bands, blues bands, and then American Songbook jazz band.
All right. What'd she say when you got nominated this time around?
This is a funny story. So I saw on the line that I was nominated, and I'm like numb, and I went in the other direction. I'm super quiet. I go downstairs, and she's having coffee.
Yeah.
And I just say, I have to tell you something. And she was like, who died?
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was somber. And then I had my iPhone, and I said, look at this, because they had it. They had the nomination online, and she starts looking at it, and then I hit the audio record on the iPhone and recorded the next 10 minutes of her screaming and yelling and speaking out.
That must be great.
It was really fun.
What a great moment. It must be. That's going to be a huge part of the ride too, right? Just having people that just genuinely care about you and being there for those moments, right?
Right.
Favorite concert you ever seen?
Well, I have a bunch come to mind. I'm dating myself. So I saw the Beatles in the Boston Garden.
Oh, okay.
I saw Jimi Hendrix in the Boston Garden.
Wow, good for you.
I would say the favorite is I saw Van Morrison and the band at Symphony Hall in 1969. I had tickets to Woodstock, but I never made it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What's that story?
So we had tickets to go hear Hendrix that Sunday.
Yeah.
Of course, he played that Monday morning. He never played on Sunday.
That's right.
And it was clear by Friday that you couldn't get there. Or at least,
Yeah.
So I never went. And of course, I'm still looking for the ticket.
Is that right? You don't have the ticket?
No.
Yeah. That's funny. That was a weird show. There are a lot of stories like that of people that just looked ahead and said it's a mob scene and we're just not going to be able to get there.
And I know some people that were there, and it was a mess. It rained. It was really tough.
A guy I work with is at Woodstock, and I always ask him. I think it's the funniest story. How was it? Ask Art how Woodstock was. He goes, I did not enjoy it.
No.
He goes, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I was not doing some of the stuff other people were doing, but I did not have a good time. Right. I always think that's funny. John Finbury, this has been great. I've really enjoyed listening to a lot of this stuff. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did, Drew.
This is good. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for making the time, too. I know you had a crazy last few days.
No, my pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
Congratulations. Grammy nomination, which is just an incredible achievement for both of these two great albums. And this is the recent one here, Sorte. Did I get it? Sorte. Very nice. Just outstanding stuff. And we'll play this out too as we go. John Finbury, check him out on Spotify. You can get still buy the old school CDs, but you're on all the streams, and you can find it under John Finbury, a local guy who is still recording music, and he's got 20 more songs, you said, right in the back pocket, ready to go?
Yes.
We'll be out listening for those now. Thank you, John. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Drew.